As I got older, I'm very conscious that I sought out an alternate father figure, somebody that would be the opposite of almost everything my dad stood for, because I needed that. And I was writing, and I had read Sometimes a Great Notion by Ken Kesey, which I think is a masterpiece, my favorite novel to this day. And I sought Kesey out. Went to the opera house in San Francisco where he was doing a reading. I tried to talk to him. He wouldn't talk to me. He was afraid of me. We're standing outside the opera house. It was a bell tower. And he was talking to a little 10-year-old girl that was a daughter of a friend of his. He says, "Look, Bethany, look at that full moon. It just came out from behind the bell tower." And I said, "That's where they keep it." And Ken burst out laughing and said, "You might have a future as a writer." You know what my friend Larry McMurtry says? He says that the job of a writer is to make stuff up. He ended up inviting me to his farm. I stayed there. I wrote a Rolling Stone article about him and a group novel class that he taught at the University of Oregon. And so eventually, he would meet my dad. But I'm going to read a little thing he had to say, because the flag, I said earlier, my dad threw my brother up against a wall for people wearing flags on their clothing at Woodstock, and the mistreatment of the flag, which he saw people die for. And that was a real and powerful emotional point of view about the flag that I think I understand, and I honor my dad's relationship to it, but it was also like a tyranny over our house, hanging that flag, flying over our house all the time. And it communicated a whole set of values that you were supposed to fall in line with. Kesey had a different point of view on what it all meant. And I went to a reading where he started talking about it, and I'm going to read this to you. Somebody questions Kesey because he's got an American flag, a blouse on. And they ask if he doesn't think he's disrespecting the flag. And Kesey says, "Nothing could be further from the truth. I'm not mocking the flag by wearing this. I'm celebrating it. Think about what this flag stands for. Freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom to disagree with your government. Even the freedom to burn it. Think about how profound that is. Nowhere else in history has there been a flag that stands for the right for someone to burn it." Now, my dad would have gone apoplectic hearing that. But the great part of this story is I wrote an article on for Rolling Stone about this class that Kesey taught. He invites me to a concert with Mason Williams, who was a writer for the Smothers Brothers, in Sacramento. Ken Kesey does. And my sister says, "I want to go." Then my other sister says she wants to go. And my dad announces he wants to go. And so we get there, and the concert has a lot of left-wing humor in it, which normally would send my dad into a frenzy of, anger. Instead, my dad's laughing at all the jokes, which I couldn't figure out. And my sister's looking at me like, he's laughing at the jokes. Afterwards, my dad says to me, "I want to meet Kesey. When are you going to introduce me to Kesey?" And I said, "Well, he's backstage. We can't go back right now." And we were invited to this after party, and there's a buffet. Kesey comes out and goes to the buffet. And my dad's like, "You're going to introduce me now?" "There he is. Introduce me." I didn't want to introduce my father. I was ashamed of my father, of his many right-wing bigotries and attitudes. But I went up and I said, "Let me go talk to Ken." So I talked to Ken, and Ken says, "Oh, Ed McClanahan's here," who's this writer that I very much admire that Ken introduced me to. He takes me over and Ken introduced me to his work. Now he's introducing me to the man. So I'm meeting Ed McClanahan, I'm talking, and I'm very excited. I see Ken walking away, and my dad walks up to Ken Kesey, and he holds out his hand, and he says, "I want to thank you for everything you've done for my son and how much you mean to him. David thinks so much of his whole family's here." Ken Kesey goes, "David's family is here? I want to meet them." And they go off together. And by the time I cut my conversation short with Ed McClan, I go over, and Ken Kesey's regaling my family. And he says, "David's really become part of our lives. We're not sure how that happened." And they leave, and my family's like, "God, he really likes you. And he really thinks the world of you." a year later, when I sold my Sam Peckinpah biography, I saw Ken. He was at the American Booksellers Association in Las Vegas. I said I was really proud of my father because he knew how much you meant to me and your work meant. And he rose above his bullshit and greeted you with respect. And Ken said, well, that's the thing about those World War II guys, because his father was in World War II also. He says they are caught in a whole psychological whirlpool that they can't escape. But beneath it all, they're really solid. And then the end of the story is my dad gets lung cancer. And I bring him the manuscript to the Peckinpah book as I'm writing it. And he could only read half of it. And then he said, I can't read anymore, David. I can't do it. And I asked my editor in New York, can you get me the catalog that shows the book that it's coming out? I want to show my dad because I don't think he's going to make it. And he didn't make it. And I came home and there's the catalog on my doorstep. My dad had died. And he had always said to me, all the times that I thought of quitting writing and getting my real estate license and my insurance, he would say, no, you're not going to do it. The no's no's. You're going to make it. You're going to ring the brass bell. I won't be here to see it, but you're going to do. You don't believe me, do you? But I know I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. You're going to do it. I won't live to see it. You do it, but you will. You're going to ring the bell. And he didn't live to see it, but I did ring the bell more than once.